Alright guys, so after you have read the Moby Dick excerpt from the textbook, which starts at "It drew near the close of the day" and ends with "Truth hath no confines," the object is for you to go through then and answer the analysis questions. But because I'm pretty sure that at some point this may be a little more difficult for you guys just because there's so much interpretation, I am now going to put this video that I'm making right now up to D2L so you can kind of compare your answers to what I have to offer as far as background information. So if you look here, the summary of the novel, this is a book that was published in 1851, and it's about Captain Ahab, who on a previous voyage had had his legs taken off, one of his legs taken off by Moby Dick, which is the name that's given to this white whale. Now, here at a later point, which is where we're picking up in the story with the quarterdeck, Captain Ahab is on a ship, the Pequod, with his crew, and they believe that they're on a routine whaling voyage, but really Captain Ahab's taken this crew out to just look specifically for Moby Dick and hunt him and kill him. And he's giving this pretty much impassioned speech from his crew, or to his crew, about this desire to catch Moby Dick and to bring him to his end. And we kind of pick up in the middle of this once he's left his captain's little cabin. He's out on the deck of the boat and he's now talking to these crew members. And so what we're going to do is consider as we read, or you should consider as you answer the questions from the reading, why Captain Ahab regards Moby Dick as evil, which is going to be the basis for the literary analysis that you'll begin next week. So if you guys look at the characters, we've got Ishmael, and you may recognize the line, "They call me Ishmael," which is the first line of the book. And Ishmael is the narrator, and in the end of the story, he's the only one that survives. The crew does find Moby Dick with Ahab, and they attempt to once again kill him, but Moby Dick capsizes the boat, and everyone dies with the exception of Ishmael, who is spared. There's Ahab, who is the captain of the Pequod and the person looking for vengeance on this whale. We've got Moby Dick, the whale himself. Starbuck, who is Ahab's right-hand man. They call him the first mate. And yes, Starbuck was the inspiration for the company Starbucks. There's Queequeg, Stubb, and Tashtago, who are all harpooneers and mates. So you've got them kind of all working together, and then Dagu. So these characters, Queequeg, Stubb, Teshtago, Flash, and Dagu, are all kind of working on the boat as harpooneers for Ahab. So after you guys have read, you're going to look then at these responding and thinking critically questions. Number one being from the, it's asking the question, why does Starbuck accuse Ahab of blasphemy? And then B is asking, is Ahab guilty of blasphemy or not? So if you guys look at number one, it says for why Starbuck thinks Ahab's blasphemous, it's because if you think about it, a whale, when it's attacked, is going to instinctually attack back. It's not a malicious, premeditated thing for an animal, and a whale even, to want to protect itself from whatever it is that's trying to harm it. And so when Ahab believes that Moby Dick was trying to intentionally hurt him, it shows that he has become obsessed with this idea and that he has misconstrued the issue at hand. Moby Dick was just acting out of instinct, and so it's blasphemous because blasphemy means that you are kind of degrading something of importance. Well, in this case, nature is important, and it's natural for a whale to act out of instinct, and instead, Ahab is treating him like he acted out of malice, and there were malicious intent there, and really it wasn't. So it's blasphemous because he's disregarding nature. So the answer to B is yes, it is blasphemous, and it's blasphemous because of the fact that he is essentially putting this whale on trial. He's trying to punish it for something that it does just out of natural instinct. So that should help answer that. And if you look, there's a speech that Starbuck gives back to Ahab. I think it's on page 286, and it talks about, or 287, one of the two, where Starbuck says, to smite a whale who acts out of blindest instinct. So that's a pretty good indicator of the fact that Starbuck does not agree with Ahab. So moving on to number 2, why does the crew choose to follow Ahab in his mission to kill Moby Dick? And then B, how do you account for the magnetism between Ahab and the crew? Well, looking at the first part of that question, part A, um, Ahab is very passionate about what he's asking his crew to do. And the crew chooses to follow him because there's a lot of things going on. First of all, he offers them a gold doubloon. So the very prospect of making money is going to be enticing for these people, and Ahab uses that as kind of a powerful tool. He realizes that by paying these people to do something he wants, he's probably going to get what he wants. But more so than that, Ahab is up there on the deck of this boat talking about how much it means to him to find this whale and kill him. And so we see this kind of passionate speech, and it draws them to him. So that magnetism for part B is, it's almost like a physical force. And I've told my classes before that if you think about when your friends ask you to do something, if they're really excited about it and they're telling you how awesome it's going to be and how much they really want to do it, you're probably going to be more inclined to go with them. Now, if they're bored or they don't think it's that great and they're talking in a monotone voice asking you to do something, you probably won't care. But Captain Ahab was excited, and he was telling them that it's important, and he was describing this whale in a very menacing way, so it makes sense that the crew would follow him. So the question number 3 asks, is Ahab justified in not revealing the Pequod's true mission until the voyage is well underway? Well, you can say yes or no. For question 1, it sounds like a yes or no question, but really we do think Ahab's blasphemous. For 3, you could say, yeah, it's totally justified. You may say the crew wanted to go along. He's the captain, so they follow along. So yes, it's okay that he doesn't quite tell the truth because he needed them to be with him. Or you may say no, it's not okay to ever lie to your crew and deceive them on what the goal or intent of your mission is because you just don't think that's right. So yes or no is fine. If you look at evidence from the story, they did follow Captain Ahab because of the reward of gold and because of the fact that he's in charge of them, and really because of the fact that they're out in the middle of the ocean and there's not a whole lot else they could do. You could also say no because, like I said, it's not really fair to lie to people. And if you watch throughout the story at some of the words and how it changes and his tone changes, you will probably would have noticed that Ahab has gotten increasingly more crazy and obsessed with finding the whale. He starts out being passionate. He ends up being almost animalistic. They even describe him as having this crazed look in his eyes and sounding like a heart-stricken moose, which to me means that there's a lot of kind of crazed anticipation going on. And then finally, for number 4, how does Melville use Ahab in his mission as a means of exploring the mystery of evil in the world? Well, it starts off that Ahab really just believes that Moby Dick is out to get him personally. But as the story progresses, we realize that Ahab actually thinks that Moby Dick is the most evil being in the world and that the whole world is a worse place because of this whale. And so when we look at the big idea of, or one of the big ideas of the dark side of American romanticism is just this evil existing in the world and the supernatural power of kind of of nature and the beings in it. So Ahab truly believes that because this whale exists and is alive, that the world is a worse place, and that he brings evil into the world and into the place where people live and try to function. And so he's making a connection to that dark side of human nature, the obsessive and crazed aspect, the insanity. He's also making a connection to the dark side that Ahab believes Moby Dick contains. All right, so that pretty much answers those questions. If you were unclear about them, hopefully I've cleared some issues up for you. Please let me know if you have any other questions, because you do want to understand the story as fully as possible when you prepare to do your literary analysis. Thanks so much.